I will change from that screen to the next screen real shortly. I know I just turned on my mic and you guys can hear me, but give me half a second here. There we go. And then I've got one other thing that I gotta do real fast. Sorry, guys. There, I'll hit that record button there. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. So today, we are going to start working on an axe. But I don't have any way to punch the hole in an axe. So we're going to start by making the tools that I need to make that tool. And so we're going to take this piece of 4140 here, and we are going to turn it into an axe drift. We have already on the stream made a hammer drift, which is this guy right here. But this, you can't really make an axe with a hammer drift, right? Because a hammer eye has a different shape to an axe eye. A hammer eye has an oval eye to put the handle, and an axe has a teardrop shaped eye to put the handle in. So we are going to make a second drift so that we can start making some axes. I don't like this tablet keyboard. Did you get a new tablet? So we get to use our material, or like our pickup tongs for this particular material, because it is a really, really thick. So honestly, I have not actually measured this piece of stock, and so it's a giant chunk of 4140. I think it's off of my 1.5 inch bar. So that means it's like, let's see if I can't do some math here. Couple centimeters, a few centimeters, I don't know. I haven't done the math. I'm sorry, guys. Evening sandwich. I use my tablet when I'm working. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so this is an 1.5 inch round bar, and I have no idea how long it is. I'm gonna estimate about 5 inches, because it doesn't look 4 inches, and it also doesn't look 6 inches. So we're gonna go with an estimate of 5-ish. And then let me do the math on that, because I gotta say, I love coming out here and spending time with you guys, because I interrupted listening to The Life of a Showgirl, which came out today. It's Taylor Swift's new album, and I came out here instead of listening to it for the 7th time today. So let me do the math real fast on those metric, or like to convert the imperial to metric real fast. Give me just a second. 1.5 inch to millimeters. That is 38.1 millimeters. And then uh 127 millimeters long-ish, give or take. '40-ish millimeters. Awesome. You know what? I left my water in the house. Give me half a second. I'm so sorry, guys. And we've got an ad coming up anyway, so it should be all right. Let me see if I can't do this. I filled my water tank. You know, this is the water that I normally drink from, and you know, I got my cup over there. I just forgot to grab it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little discombobulated. Like I said, I've been listening to Life of a Showgirl for like all day so far. Ray coming to our craziness over Taylor Swift. I feel honored. Yes, you should. Just curious, but can you fold over the steel to make something like an axe head, or is it better to punch the handle hole? Well, I will actually talk to you guys about that once this ad is over. She hoses us over Taylor. Wow. All right, let's close that real fast. But yes, I'm drinking out of my Eras Tour cup, and I'm celebrating the album today. I'll try not to talk about it too terribly much because it can get annoying, but I'm pretty excited about the album. There is one miss for me, but I won't talk to you about it. All right, we are out of ad time, so we are good. So yes, you can actually fold a piece of steel over and make a axe head. And that's what I attempted to do up here. But when you're doing that, you have to forge weld those two halves together. And I failed miserably at that forge weld. So I decided that I'm going to take the easy way out, and we're going to punch the hole for our next attempt. So we're going to make a punch. We're going to need to make the punch anyway, because once we were to, close that forge weld, we would have wanted to work on the cheeks a little bit more to kind of shape that axe. So it's good either way to have a drift. Well, yes, I know Taylor Swift, and I would identify 2 or 3 songs. Matching pink with the signs today. Yeah, I mean, come on, it's Taylor Swift day, right? I got pink and pink up there, and I got my Taylor Swift cup because I'm being kind of girly today. All right, let's turn on the forge. But I forgot to change the thing, so give me half a second. Like I said, I've been listening to Taylor too much today. All right, there we go. We're gonna turn this on real fast. I should have had this already turned on, but goodness gracious. I promise I'll be better on Monday. I will have already listened to it so many times that I will be sick of it at that point. All right, we're going to pull this over here. And I'm just going to hook up the new tank for today. And our new tank is brought to us by the butler. Oh, come on. Is it not wanting to go in? It does not want to go in there. There we go. This is totally what Taylor Swift does to me, guys. Maybe maybe I shouldn't be listening to it before stream. There we go. All right, we're good with that. Let's turn this on. Putting forth a challenge to Taylor. Bet you can sing better than she can forge. Who would want a bad butler? That's true. Depends on how your butler is bad. There we go. Okay, so let's put the steel in the forge. we can drop it on my foot instead. That sounds good too. There we go. Okay. I can deal with this. I'm adaptable. Or maybe I'm not. Jesus. You know what? Sorry. Better. And that doesn't count as a strike. Because I said so. Alrighty. Drop forward drift, raise bloopers. Don't break a toe, right? It'll be alright. Okay, so we are going to be using the press today for a good amount of the forging that we're going to be doing today. I want to draw out this piece of steel so that it's pretty long, because I want the axe to sit about halfway down the length of the drift in order for it to give us a proper amount of handhold space. I'm not afraid to use the gloves to hold the drift, but that's kind of the handle that we're going to be using when we're starting to work on the sides of the axe. So it needs to be long enough that it's not going to burn through my leather gloves, but it doesn't have to be like so long that I can't use the press to cut the hole to begin with. If you did a Patreon or YouTube membership, a member exclusive could be a collection of bloopers. I mean, it definitely could, man. It definitely could. I do drop things quite a bit. At least this time, when I dropped the steel on my foot, it actually hit the cap. And I wear steel toe boots specifically for that reason. So, you know, I can tip up the anvil and kind of rest it on my boot caps, or I can, you know, use it in, or I can, you know, use it to protect my toes. Wow, your last name is Ray Downing. Yeah. Where does it say that? Does it say that somewhere? I'm trying not to dox myself here. I mean, it does say that on like my cards and stuff, but I'm trying not to dox myself here. Nightbot. Oh, yeah. R Downing art, yes. I forgot about that. Yes, my name is Ray Downing. And that I was on Facebook as R Downing Art before. I changed the name of the art to, or like the artist side of things, to Ray Smithy. And Facebook doesn't like it when you change your Facebook name, I guess, or your business name. So yeah, that's my name. Please don't dox me and show up at my house. I would appreciate that. But I mean, regardless, it's not amazingly difficult to locate people on the internet. So yeah, just please try not to, you know, show up randomly. I don't even have a computer or do anything like that. Can't trust bots and AI, right? Greetings, Ping. Welcome to the stream. There is some paint on the end of our stock that is emitting a strange scent, so I had to go and look for it. Anytime there is a strange scent in your shop, when you have your forge on, you definitely need to go and check that out. Make sure that something that's not supposed to be on fire is, make sure that it's not on fire. So yeah, we're good. It's just the paint on the end of the bar that's in there. There's some, like, for whatever reason, there's some silver paint at the end. You are too far away. If anything, I'd send you a birthday present. Might drop off a load of steel. I mean, I'd appreciate a load of steel. If you wanted to drop it off, though, I would appreciate some heads up, Otherwise, it's a little bit creepy, You guys are pretty good, though. I don't think that I have ever felt that I would have that as an issue, scary people showing up at my door. But, you can't really take that for granted. Occasionally, someone slips through the cracks, right? But yeah, so today we are working on a a axe eye drift. I drew a little, sketch of what it looks like, and I tried to make it as non-phallic as possible. I don't know how well I succeeded in that. I tried. This is supposed to be an axe head, and that's supposed to be the drift. I don't know. Maybe I might just, erase it. I don't know. So your stage name is Ray Dropping. I mean, maybe. Just remember, she knows how to swing a hammer professionally. You have my address now. As long as that's a joke. When I see an axe drift, I think of a thick hidden or through tang knife. I mean, it does remind me of that. Like, this drawing here it makes me think that this is like the handle of the axe and it's just not attached. But basically we're making the hole that the handle sits in, so it's kind of inevitable that the drift actually looks like a handle. So, kind of into it that way, or in that way. I need to move this down because it's a little bit too close together. Well, that's an interesting thing. So, like I said, I've been listening to Taylor Swift's album for, all morning, and one of her songs is called Father Figure. And it is a direct reference to the George Michael song. And instead of having the Taylor Swift version stuck in my head, I have the George Michael version stuck in my head, so I don't know what that says. If your welder is strong enough, you could weld a mild steel handle to make it more of the 4140 into the drift. I mean, there's something to that, but I almost feel like you'd have to drill in a peg so that it holds it nice and tight, because a drift is also used for, you have to hammer the drift into the hole. And so I would be terrified that I would, break the weld while I was hammering it in the hole, Let's visit Defensive Girl from Twa. or defenseless girl from Twitch. She's doing this hammer bonk back. Yes, something like that. All right. Cool. We had a bot, so I had to deal with that. But yeah, so our steel is a little bit on the cold side still, and I need to move the camera over there. At first I was thinking that I might want to start on the anvil, but I think I want to start on the press. Now that I'm thinking, you know? Oh, I'm an idiot. One of these days, guys, I'm gonna figure things out. So I was trying to focus the other camera, the close-up camera, and then this was on that lens, and I was like, what is this? It's the little barn doors. It was on there backwards. Because it's easier to keep hold of it while it's on there backwards, or like to store it. And it was originally stored. They always advertise cheap viewers. Yes. I'm not the only cheater. I am not only cheap as a viewer. I'm totally free of charge. I appreciate that, guys. That you don't charge me to watch, my stream. I wouldn't be able to afford all of you. If I had to buy viewers, I would not be able to afford such high quality viewers. We'd be stuck with people who don't chat and don't even pay attention, Possibly a lens hood. Yeah, they call it a barn doors, so it's to kind of keep the side light from getting into the lens and screwing up the focus and things. It was flipped backwards, so it made it more difficult. Or I was like, why isn't this focusing? And then it popped off, and I'm like, oh, because it's sitting on there backwards. There should not be too much stray light there. There isn't. Not in this shop. This shop, if anything, is way too dark. But, what can you do, right? All right, let us bring down the press. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be tapering down this bar and making it longer. So I'm trying to get at least double length, probably triple length if I can manage it, but we'll see how long we can get. We have a lot of thickness going. It's very much too thick, so we should have plenty of material to get that length. bit left and we'll be able to start tapering this. Not too bad, or not too much. What did you call it? Lens hood. It's what you get as a translation. In German, it's straight light blind. The nickname, like the industry nickname, is called barn doors because originally they moved in and out, and they functioned like barn doors. And I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I'm thinking of something different, but yeah, that's just what I was under the impression it was called. So maybe it's not. Oh, for like lights. Yeah, kind of. Very, very similar. That's kind of the background that I came from when it comes to like film or the film industry. I did a lot of sound and a lot of lighting, less on the camera side. But I do have some grip credits and some art department credits. The ones for lenses are round and fixed. Okay. I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, so you know. Especially about film gear and equipment. I am wrong a lot about that. Okay. There we go. Okay. So, let me turn on this real fast. And now we're going to take our first heat of the day. Let's see if I can manage this. Okay, so we're going to take a lot of, or we're going to be squishing a lot on this side, a little bit this way, because we want to keep that width and reduce it as we get longer and longer. So right now I want it relatively rectangular, this direction, and I want it to taper out this way. Sometimes such nicknames transfer to other applications or stay while technology changes, but they do not make much sense anymore. Exactly. That actually happens quite a lot. Like, hardly anybody does, like, dialing the phone anymore, you know? Most people are just, like, they go into their contacts or, you know, they, but, like, hardly anybody does the dial-up anymore. So for this drift, we need to make or create a long taper, but then that taper needs to go from a square to a teardrop shape. So what I'm thinking is we allow the wide side to get a little bit wider than we actually want it. And then we're going to take the swage block, and there are some V grooves in the side of the swage block. So we're going to take the taper that we've made with the press, and we are going to create a V teardrop shape on the swage block. So once we've got a nice point for that V groove, we're going to take the rest of that material and we're going to round that out to get that teardrop shape. Even when we were pushing buttons, we weren't dialing, as dialing comes from rotary phones. Exactly. That's kind of what I was referring to. Nobody dials the phone anymore because that's rotary. But yeah, like I said, we want to kind of keep the wide side of this drift a little bit wider than we really want it in the end, because as we are, or when we are creating the V groove, or like the tip of that teardrop, we are going to be compressing some of that material down. So we want to make sure that the end dimensions are what we want, or our desired dimensions. So we need to keep them wide, so we have that room to play to get that point at on the side of it. Nobody rewinds videos either. Yes, that is the case. You know, Be Kind Rewind used to be like a really important thing that you would do, you know, especially at rental video stores and stuff like that. But no, we don't have videotapes anymore, you know. There are rewind and fast forward functions on DVD players and even on streaming services, but it's a little bit odd, I feel like, you know. Ever since they put in like the chapters, it makes it a little bit weird that have the fast forward and rewind functions. Even in the 80s and 90s, when my family had rotary dial phones still working, people didn't come in to use the phone and stare blankly at it until we had to explain how to use it. Yes. When you clock in and out at work, you log your work time. In German, we still call it stamp in and stamp out, because back in the day, you put a card that got stamped, not exactly fitting anymore, for holding your company ID to the ID reader. Yeah. So the butler, when they clock in and clock out of work, they don't even clock in and out. They just go to a spreadsheet with a drop down and say, I got here at X time and I left at X time. So it's just kind of, things change and we still call it the same thing, you know? So we're going to have an ad here shortly. I'm not entirely sure exactly when it's going to start, but within the next few, like 30 seconds or so, I think. So once that ad is over, we'll do another heat over on the press. Because we've got plenty of heat now. We just need to wait for that ad. Because I don't want it to start halfway through the heat. I'm going to put this one over here for a moment. We'll eventually start using that one as well, because I need to draw out the back side as well. We'll need to flip it around at some point to give ourselves enough of a handle. All right, so I think that ad has started now. So I'm planning on this project to take today and then probably 2 to 3 days next week, or streams next week. But once this one is done, we're going to go right into making an axe. I don't think we're going to actually use an axe head drift, or like an axe punch, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I think we are going to just use the drift to cut in the hole. I have a piece of 4140 that I'd like to turn into an axe, but we kind of have to process it just a little bit. We probably won't start that until Monday of, not 3 days from now, but the Monday after that. So it should take us a little bit of time to get through to the axe. That's also possible, but more conservative companies like to have you walking by the terminal to make sure you were actually there when working from home. You, of course, just click a button on some website. The axe starts on my birthday week. Well, happy birthday early, Corwin. But yeah, the butler works all over the area. So sometimes they have to go into the building, or like, the new station building, the actual building, and sometimes they start their day out and about because they shoot promotions and commercials for our local TV station. So if they want like a sunrise shot or something, my partner clocks in and then goes directly out to that shoot, shoots it, and then goes into the building. So it's kind of like you can't really clock in at the building in order to do that, That would take a lot of extra time that you could be actually shooting the thing you need to shoot. Okay, let's do another heat. So I'm trying to keep this from splaying out too far. So I need to make sure that we're doing both sides, just more pressure on this side than this side. So yay, birthdays! The stream's birthday will be next month, about mid-month, and then we also have a second birthday for the stream, and that will be in January. I think it's January 6th-ish is the day that we made affiliate. So we will have a celebration on our affiliate anniversary. In my work time log, you can see whether I've clocked in at the terminal or via live button on the website. I can also put in the time later on another website, but this is also visible in the log. I have to be on site at least 1 or 2 days a week. If things do not check out, I will get a call from my boss's assistant. Yeah, I imagine that that might happen to a lot of different people, just because bosses very much like to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know? Move that up and over a little bit. And while I'm over here, I'm going to change views just a little bit. You guys can probably see this camera position. Maybe you can, yeah, you can. Let me go this way then. All right, cool. I like to change the view every once in a while. So, I don't know. The camera might be visible in a few of these shots. A little bit, but it's not obstructing anything. Yeah, I figured that was the case, but I still kind of moved it over a little bit. I might take it up a little bit higher, just so that we can get a different angle for variety, because I enjoy variety with my shots while I'm editing things. Hey, J.K. Newton, you be lurking in the background. Well, thanks for the lurk. POV, you are changing POV. Exactly, I do change POV quite a lot. Maybe not as much as I want to, but sometimes, but I try. I try. You know what else I try and I can't succeed at? I keep forgetting to get myself a new apron. I've got this giant hole, which isn't amazingly like safe, but I think it's low enough that it's not too bad. One of these days I'll get to it though. Alrighty, let's do another heat. I don't know that that's any different now that I'm looking at it. It's a little closer, but I don't think it's that much closer. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to drop my board. So I'm going to flip this over and kind of square up this outside edge here. And try not to step on my board. You could sew a patch over it. I could sew a patch over it. I don't know if it would be cheaper just to buy a new one or sewing a patch in it. Actually, sewing patches to leather is kind of difficult, if I'm being completely honest. Because you have to have like really thick needles in order to get through the leather. True. So part of me really, really wanted to do the full bar, but I cut off this little chunk here because what I want to do with this chunk of material is I kind of want to make another hammer, a smaller hammer out of it. So if I can manage it, what I'm going to try and do later on, probably sometime this winter, is I want to turn this into a raising hammer. And a raising hammer is used for making bowls, bowl forming hammers. And it's more of a silversmithing technique, but I would like to turn this into that. So you can look forward to that eventually. We'll see how long it takes us to get through some of the subsequent projects that I already have going on. And then, maybe we'll get to here. So we're gonna do like this project is the axe eye drift. The next project is going to be the axe that we're making this drift for. Then after that, we are either going to start making some more tools, or I'm going to deliberately look to see if I can't do some forge welding practice. I have a couple other tools that I'd like to try. Hey Bluesy, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. So how did your class go on Wednesday? I saw that you joined us, but I think that you were maybe tired. I didn't see any of your any comments. So how did your class go on Wednesday? Hey, hey, hey! Yeah. Fix anything fun? We finished our clicky tongs, and I thought they turned out all right. They were a little bit long on the one side. Now I feel like maybe sometime over the next few days, maybe I should use all of the grill implements to actually grill something. I feel like, maybe some people might want to see that as like a short or something. Grilling or using our grill tongs or our grill tools to grill things. Man, it is super hot today. I didn't even look at what temperature it was. So, yesterday and a little bit today, I was working on our, I continued working on the overview video for the quad state trip that we did. So I was having a lot of trouble finding some good B-roll for it. I had a really good interview, but I had to look really hard for a lot of different B-roll. We were very, very busy, so most of the time that I spent at Quad State, I was interviewing people or resting. I think I got some pretty good stuff though. We got some drone in there. We got lots and lots of hammering and some tools and a little bit of the tailgate sail. So it should be some good stuff. It went well. I just got tired. Oh yeah, we worked on a tractor that wouldn't start. I had pinched a line, told them to figure it out. They had fun. I'll bet. It's always interesting, when you have to diagnose what's wrong with a piece of equipment or a machine. You know, like sometimes things are really obvious and it's easy to figure out what's wrong, and sometimes there's like little minutia or like multiple things that go wrong with something, and you fix one thing and then it's still not gonna start. You got to find out what else is wrong with it. So that's a really good skill to have, just being able to identify what is wrong with your piece of equipment. That guy who hardly had any time then kept talking for an hour. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it was, we were still, learned a few things, I think, from that interview. A couple things here and there. But yeah, they had all been working for many, many days, like through the night and stuff. So I think by the time we were able to get over there, they were just starting to feel that fatigue. So, you know, sometimes people get a little bit shy of the camera, and sometimes, they're not having a great day, or, they're tired or things like that. So it's kind of, when I went over there to kind of suss out who we were going to talk to, I had explained that we were going to talk to a different person, but that person was also busy. So, I was able to talk to Brian Brazil, and, it was still very nice of him to talk with us. So I'm glad I got to talk to him. Oh, yeah, I kept it easy this time. It had diesel. We'll see. It did. Uh, it didn't have any gas in it. I mean, if there's no gas going to it, that's a good, easy thing to fix. Or maybe not necessarily an easy thing to fix, but it's an easy thing to diagnose. All right, let's do another heat. Like I said, we're going to take this heat to square out the back. So it's going to be a little bit easier for us to keep hold of it with our pickup tongs. Got some flats, and it'll make it a lot easier for us to use our pickup tongs to get this in and out of the forge. I think I'm going to do one more heat on it though, and then we'll go back to drawing down. Ray, my fellow chatters here are joking that a diesel engine does not have any gas in the tank. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Is diesel not gas? I don't know much about like gasoline. I know the difference between regular like unleaded gas and ethanol, but I don't really know the difference between diesel and gas. It didn't. It just had diesel. I just pinched the line so they could feel what it's like to diagnose stuff. I swear that machine just farted. Showing the proper use of an adjustable spanner. I love those jacks. Can use them for so much. I need to buy another one. Okay, gas is not gas, it's a liquid. Gas isn't gas, it is a liquid. However, when gasoline is like being injected through the injector, doesn't it kind of turn into a gas? Like, I know that it turns into a vapor, and that may still be liquid, but doesn't it also turn into a gas? Maybe I just don't quite understand how that a gasoline engine works. It's fuel, but not the same. I know some use gas and fuel interchangeably. Yes, indeed, it is. We often use gas and fuel interchangeably in the United States. Everything is gas around here. I gotta go get gas. It's almost like around here, all tissues are, well, Kleenexes. All Kleenexes are Kleenex, even though Kleenex is a brand. I gotta be careful using the word tissues because tissues aren't necessarily in every language in every culture, it's not the same thing. Petrol, gasoline will catch fire if you throw a lit match on it. Diesel, the match will go out. No, it gets vaporized, but it is just a lot of very fine droplets. When it burns, it becomes gas. The main difference is that gasoline is ignited by a spark plug, while diesel fuel ignites by itself from the heat and pressure from the combustion stroke. Okay. What I do know about diesel is that the exhaust smells a lot more pungent than the exhaust from a gasoline vehicle. But that's really all we don't use a lot of diesel anymore here in the United States. I feel like we're really trying to phase it out as much as possible. As far as private vehicles, at least, there are still a lot of corporate or trucks and delivery vehicles that do use diesel, but not nearly as many as before. I feel like a lot of larger vehicles are going electric and natural gas, from what I've seen. Now you can ignite petrol using pressure and heat as well. Interesting. I learned so much from you guys. I love this community because I teach you things and you teach me things. All right. So I'm hoping that over the next few heats, we will start to reduce the girth of this piece of steel to the point where we can move from using the large forge to using the mailbox. So my goal is to take this piece on Monday and use the mailbox. I tried to use it for today, but it was a little bit too wide. I just didn't feel like there was going to be enough airflow to heat or properly heat the steel, because there was only a little tiny bit of room when I put the steel in today. And I need the heat to be able to get through the cracks and a little bit, surround my steel. So we decided to use the big forge today instead of the mailbox. That's kind of why I had to switch the tank, because I just wanted to make sure that I had enough space for a proper heat. Diesel reputation have a sturdier and did I missed that. Diesel engine you in general have higher pressure levels, therefore the engines are built sturdier and have a reputation of lasting longer. Diesel is less refined and needs pressure and heat to ignite. Hey, Not Chubby. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. So today we are working on an axe eye drift. So we started with a piece of 1.5 round stock, and I think we decided that's about 20 millimeters in diameter-ish. And then it was somewhere in the neighborhood of this long. I didn't really measure it. But anyway, we're turning that into a axe eye drift. So we want to turn that, or we're going to draw it out and give it a teardrop shaped profile, or I guess maybe profile is the word I'm looking for. Maybe. We had Evie sitting and not moving last winter, so they must be doing something different. An inch is 25.4 millimeters. All right, yeah. So I'm really off with my 1.5 inch measurement there then. So if an inch is 25.4 millimeters, then I guess it would have been about 36.6 millimeters-ish, somewhere in that neighborhood in diameter. So you can run them on anything from heavy oil to alcohol. But yeah, we are turning this piece of round bar into an axe eye drift. And an axe eye is a teardrop shape. So there is a difference between that and a hammer eye, because the hammer eye is an oval shape. So I want to draw this down and get ourselves a lot of a length. But I want to keep it a little bit on the longer side. On the long side, I want to keep it longer than I want, because we're going to take it over to the swage block, and we are going to hammer it into the V grooves that are on that swage block, so we can get that teardrop shape. And we will be getting a little bit of a compression when we are acquiring that point. Something weird smelly. I don't know. I don't think it's in the shop. So 1.5 is 38 millimeters. All right. It's 25.4 millimeters. So fine. Is it an axe or more of a hatchet size? It's more of a hatchet size. So it's going to be like a wood cutting axe, like a single hand one. More of like a carving axe, less of a log splitting axe. So yeah, like I said, it's a hand axe, or that's like, the size that I'm going for. The actual piece of stock that I am going to be making this axe from is this piece right here. We do need to squish it down some and turn it from this like more square-ish shape to a much more skinny rectangle. I want it longer and thinner this direction. So this is going to be the stock that we use, but we have to process it a little bit. That one's going to really smell because there's some like oil on it. So I think I'm going to have to clean it before I stick it in the forge. All right, let's do our next heat. Oh, I got to flip my clip real fast. I think I might bring it back a little bit and then raise it. There we go, that's better. Hopefully you'll get a different view. All right, let's do this. Michigan axes have dual blades. I assume you were making a standard one. Yes, a standard axe. Did I make this too thin? I kind of did a little bit. I guess I'll have to go back to the other, yeah. That's all right though. Alright, now that we've squared out that side, I want to turn it around and we are going to start really forging this out. Drawing this to get length and the shape that we're looking for. It's going to be a little bit on the short side because I want to be able to use this in under the press. So it can't be like super, super long, otherwise the press won't work very well with it, but so it'll be a little bit on the shorter side, but overall I think I should be able to use it for both the anvil and the press. Or at least I'm trying. That would probably be a very heavy war axe. Yes, war axes are a lot like lighter than your standard like wood cutting axe. You need that extra heft to cut the wood and to, you know, get that leverage and that force that you need to split pieces of wood. You know what? I forgot to get my docs. I changed my stream information and I forgot to pull up my activity feed. Dewey Joel, of course, they need speed. Yeah, egg breaking rather than skull breaking hatchet, not a war axe. Yeah, we're definitely doing a wood cutting axe. because I make tools and I try not to make weapons here. I have made weapons and we probably will at some point make some knives, but I want to stress that like I want to make tools, not weapons of war. Um, Even my weapons that I make, most of them are not sharpened or useful in that capacity. I mean, I guess anything can be a weapon to hurt someone if you try hard enough. But the goal is to create tools, useful items, not items meant to hurt people. Ew, yuck! Knife makers have cooties. I gotta say, I do respect knife makers, but I could never be a knife maker. The amount of meticulous, like, uh, care that you have to take in every single knife, to get that fit and finish just exactly correct, I could not do that on a long-term scale. I can do it like once or twice just to like do it, but I don't have the patience. It's hard to even get me to like take a wire wheel to half of my projects. I hate finish work. It's just not for me. I need to get myself like an apprentice someday, and then I will never have to do finish work again, right? Knives are primarily tools. Yes, a knife is a tool. The one thing you want if you need to survive. I mean, knives are absolutely beautiful tools. I mean, for cutting and or meat or like cooking, also like opening things. Knives are beautiful for that too. Like I own many knives that have many different purposes. I'm just kind of like I don't make sharp swords and things or war picks and things like that. Is more what I was trying to say. Knives can be tools. I like an axe if it's just a survival axe. Yeah, I mean, there are some really good survival axes out there that can be relatively compact as well. Like I said, this one's going to be a little bit on the heavier side. It's like I said, it's a hand axe, but it's designed for you to be able to split some wood. Like when you get the already split wood from the gas station when you're making like a fire and it's already in relatively like manageable pieces, sometimes you need an axe to cut it to even smaller pieces, especially if you're using it for like smoking or smaller fires and things like that. Kindling. Okay, a hatchet. Yes. Swords have one purpose. Knives are tools that can be a weapon. Exactly. Exactly. Alright. The best weapon in untrained hands is a hoe. I'm gonna allow that because we're talking about the gardening tool and not an insult. But yeah, a hoe is a really, really good weapon if you need one. Also, like, um, just a broom can make a good weapon. Any kind of long stick you can do a lot of damage with. I am sorry, I do not know how to call that otherwise. Some swords are useful for cutting down brush. The best weapon is 10 minutes of training is a spear in the gardening pool. Yeah. Because, like, a spear gives you a lot of length. And so if you can get to your opponent before they can get to you, it's that distance, Are you in measure? If you are in measure and your opponent is not, that is ideal because you can get them and they can't get you. And that is why hoes and spears and like bow stabs are very good weapons. They're also really easy to get a hold of. All right, let's do another heat. On our tool to make another tool. There, you know it. A long staff is a great defense weapon indeed. Bow stabs are too short, in my opinion, that is. Pointy hard end makes a better. Spearman can reliably take out a knight in full plate armor. It's why it was a standard issue around 5,000 years ago. Or for about 5,000 years. I mean, there's also something to be said that, you know, it doesn't take long to train a peasant to use a spear, right? Because they're already using a lot of farming implements like pitchforks and hoes and other implements that are similarly shaped. So half the job is already done. So, you know, and it's also a lot cheaper to arm the peasants with farming equipment that they already own as opposed to specialized equipment and weaponry. True, but again, a spear isn't something you carry in peacetime. That's because you carry your pitchforks and, you know, your grass cutting scythes and your like harvesting implements and, you know, hoes and things like that. So yes, we are going to have a relatively heavy axe. I think it's probably going to be 2 to 3 pounds, I think. In the end, for the axe. The drift is going to be a lot lighter than the axe, I think, because, you know, the starting material is a lot smaller, or like in weight, I guess. I am such a civilized, pampered nerd. If ever comes to survival by an axe, I'm either gone or dead. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of us are not ready to deal with a zombie apocalypse in that way. But yes, tools. I want to make tools. I really like making tools. I think most of the items that are on my list for things to make for the next few months are all tools. I do have a few decorative things that use the tools that we're making, but primarily we're probably making tools. So yeah. I want to make a jeweler's saw frame. I want to make a raising hammer. I want to make a stake for raising a bowl. I want to make the bowl. I want to make a set of calipers and a compass. I want to make a few other tools as well. But that's kind of like a little preview of my list of things I want to make. I rely very much on my food coming from a supermarket and police making sure social rules are not violated too much. Okay, can you make a square tip screwdriver? I mean, I might be able to make a square tip screwdriver. It would, it wouldn't be too bad to make. I could probably also make a flathead, and if I spent some time grinding, I could probably make a Phillips head screwdriver. But those take a bit of extra, finishing work, I think. Compass, magnetic, or measurement? Measurement, right? So you use a compass to like measure tools or like measure stock or, as a drafting tool, I guess, is kind of the type of compass that I'm looking to make. So, one end is like, or the ends end in like points. Some of them actually end, or like some of them have like a pencil on one end and a point on the other, and they allow you to make circles. But some of them are also just for measurement, for like cartography and drafting and things like that. That's the screwdriver that works best. Robertson screw. Ask a Canadian. See, I usually use like hex bit screws and hex bit drivers. Sometimes star bit. But I prefer. I don't like the Phillips head screwdrivers because the screws are constantly stripping, and they don't last very long. And it's kind of you use a screw because you want to be able to remove it. And if you strip out the head of the screw, then that's useless. You might as well use a nail, right? Compass, I look forward to it. I have them in some of my tractors, a Robertson screw. Hex bit also works. Yeah, like I said, I like them a lot, actually. And you can also use, you can use a hex bit screwdriver, but you can also use an Allen key with those. And we have so many Allen keys laying around the house because that is what you use to like tighten tripods and things like that. Let's do another heat. Torque head provides most surface area. Why the adjustable spanner on the press? Uh, so the reason that I have this guy on here is because it's holding the dies onto the press itself. I used to have like a little bit of angle iron that I used to I slide the dies underneath of it, but I broke it off because when I welded it on, I didn't do a very good job. So I you know, when you band-aid something and it works really well, why fix it? So that's why I have a locking vise on it instead of something else. I also, it's just a little bit more convenient than putting on C-clamps. Looks like it's clamping the bottom die on. Yes, it definitely is. Yeah, I'm a little bit, if it ain't broke, don't fix it on this press. It was a little bit jank when I made it to begin with, and I've made it work for me. But, jank is jank, right? It's a temporary fix to replace the other temporary fix until you fix it. Yeah, right? There's nothing permanent as a temporary fix, right? Nah, it's just, a Band-Aid over a Band-Aid over a Band-Aid. And eventually I'd like to replace the entirety of this press with a better press. But as I have it right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I take donations if you guys want to help me replace it. But I'm not, I'm not trying to beg for money either. I just enjoy being here and streaming for you guys. I do actually get some money from ad revenue and the subscriptions that you guys toss my way. So I appreciate all of the support that you guys have to give me. And right now, most of my donations are going towards propane. Speaking of donating propane tanks, if you would like your name on the propane or sponsor of the week, I've got a KoFi and you can donate 25 bucks and I will shout you out. I'll put you as a short on YouTube. But yeah, I take support of all kinds. Just watching me is plenty of support, and I'm very grateful for that. If it is still working, it means Ray hasn't had enough donations. Something like that. All right, let's do another heat. After this one, I think I'm going to change the camera view. So I always talk about fish lips, right? And one of the things that happens when you don't get heat all the way through your piece is that the center of the outer, like of the end of your bar ends up getting sucked in. When you get a really nice amount of heat all the way through your bar, oftentimes it will actually puff out. And that's what we've got here. We have been getting some really nice heats going. And so instead of fish lipping in like it could be doing, it's poking out. All right, we got an ad starting in about 3 minutes, it looks like. There we go. But yeah, I'm super excited that we're not getting fish lips, that we're actually getting that good heat throughout the entirety of the piece. It's going to make the end product a lot easier to manage, and it's going to take a lot less finishing at the end. If it is, oh yeah, I already read that one. A lot of people will also tell you that if you tamp in the outside edges of your piece, you can also prevent a lot of fish slipping. And that is definitely the case, especially if you're doing like some really quick heats. It also helps if you are doing some upsetting. If you start by bringing in the edges, you'll get a lot less of that fish tailing. So we've got fish slipping and fish tailing that happens. But we're getting a good amount of heat, and I'm pretty happy with that. A lot of times I'm not patient enough to get a full heat throughout the entirety of our piece, and so I end up regretting it later. I don't get nearly as much movement each heat, and I also have to deal with random problems like fish lipping. So I'm trying very hard to be patient. It is not something that I do often, and I don't have a lot of patience. All right, I'm gonna grab some more water. We're waiting on an ad. So something funny that happened to me is when I went to grab my water can today to refill it for today's stream, I found out that I accidentally, I left it open. And so water has been dripping for like 3 days all over the floor, but like really, really slowly. So I just had this like tiny little puddle, and it was kind of funny. More water. Ooh, it's nice and cold. All right, so we are currently on an ad break. I am super sweaty today. I did not expect it to be this warm this far into the year. I thought we were going to start getting cooler temperatures. I mean, it's like, what, October 3rd? Kind of crazy. I definitely did not expect it to be this warm. How warm is it? I don't know, because I got an air quality uh, in the air quality warning, I guess. Oh, it's apparently 88 degrees Fahrenheit. That's kind of crazy. Super duper warm. I mean, seriously, it's not supposed to be that warm in October. But that probably explains why I'm sweating like this. Alright, so the ad is going to be finished shortly, and we're going to do another heat once that finishes. Because I want to, I want to keep on keeping on. I get air quality warnings whenever I eat burritos. Yeah, so I live really close to St. Louis, and so we get a lot of pollution when it starts getting really hot, and the air quality goes down. A decent amount of a wedge going here. I want to draw that back a little bit further. We're definitely going to need a little bit more, or we need to thin this out a lot more, because I want enough length to get a good start. Right now, we're going to lose too big of a plug, but I think we're getting a good start. So yeah, we do have quite a bit of pollution, and so it makes it harder for people who have breathing problems to breathe in the city. Where I live, it's a little bit further out, and so it's not quite as hard to breathe. So, I thank my lucky stars, and I try not to go into the city when it's like this. When I get back in the house, it's shower time, though. Definitely. I've got a speaker that I'll be able to listen to my album. And I'm going to drive the Butler nuts tonight, listening to my album. So I'm thinking that this is probably going to take 1 to 2 more sessions. I'm not sure if I'll finish it on Monday. I feel like if I say that I will finish it on Monday, that I won't finish it, and that I will, it'll be like halfway through Wednesday. So I'm going to say that we're going to go to Wednesday with this drift, and then on Friday or maybe Monday we'll start the axe. But it will definitely take us a couple weeks to do the axe, I think. because I think it's going to take us a couple sessions to get this drifted out properly. So if we actually finish the drift on Wednesday, maybe we'll do a little bit of the finishing on Friday. Do you guys want to see me finish it, like doing all of the grinding and sanding and stuff on this drift, or would you rather I wait and do that later and then come up with a different, single day project? We might be able to do like some leaves or hooks or something. What do you guys think? Is this something that would be quicker with such a pneumatic hammer? Oh, is this something that would be quicker with such a pneumatic hammer? Finish it, okay. I mean, a lot of things are a lot quicker with the pneumatic hammer because, well, not necessarily, actually. Now that I've said that out loud, I think that's wrong because I don't really feel like I get that much extra effort or like time out of using the press. It's more saving me stamina and less saving me time. Now, if I had a better press, then it would definitely, or a power hammer, it would definitely save me time. But I honestly, I want to say that I don't actually save much in the way of time with the press. It's more stamina and effort that I save. Much quicker in a hammer. I mean, it definitely would be much quicker in a different, not this hammer, but like a different pneumatic hammer or a power hammer. If you guys were here on Saturday, like last Saturday, I saw a power hammer demo. The guys at Coal Iron Works did a little demo for us, and he tapered out a piece of rectangular stock. It was super, super quick. He did the whole thing in like one heat. It was insane how fast it was in comparison to stuff that we can do here. Either a trip or pneumatic hammer. Yeah. The reason I don't have a trip hammer is basically because I need machines that are going to save me on stamina. That's the thing that I just don't have a lot of in the shop. I have a lot of time overall, but I don't have a lot of stamina. I thought of one of those nice power hammers. Yes, that would. I mean, we could do this in like a couple heats. It would take us like no time at all to make the same drift with that power hammer that they were using. The reason it takes us so long is, like I said, my press just doesn't have the power. Maybe I will. Where am I gonna go? Where do I want to go with this camera? Do I want to go here? Can I go here? Maybe I can go here. It would be nice. That's a much closer view. It's probably actually in the frame, but I think that's alright. Trip, not treadle. Oh, okay. Tripper hammers are like little giants. Oh, okay, yeah. See, I thought, for whatever reason, when you said a trip hammer, I thought like the single hit, like treadle hammers. Like you stomp on the little thing and it just like does one hit. All right, we're gonna do another heat now that I've moved that. get a little bit of a curve, like a downward curve that's from the angle at which the press is kind of like hammering down at. So I'm gonna go this direction, and then I'm gonna turn it over so we can straighten that out a bit. Is trip hammer the same as a spring hammer? I think the way he's explaining trip hammer is like a tire hammer almost. So it's got that uneven round ram. That creates the up and down force. I don't know the numbers there, but I just found the machines impressive. Yeah, I mean, they were definitely impressive. Coal Iron has an entire line of presses and power hammers, and they're absolutely amazing. They've spent the last 10 years kind of perfecting their designs, and they do really good work. Like I said on that stream that Saturday, I've not heard of a single person who has complained about their Coal Iron Works power hammer or press. They're good machines, they're reasonably priced, and they're made in the United States. It's a little bit harder to get them overseas, but there's a lot of other power hammer companies that are based in or overseas in Europe and in Asia. So it's a lot easier to get new power hammers over there. Before Coal Iron got really, into it, we had to ship power hammers overseas in crates, and it was really prohibitive. Well, not really. I misspoke. Trip hammers are more like drop hammers. They are impressive. In Europe, we mostly use older power hammers made here. Yeah, I know that Anyang still makes new ones, but I think that they're like in Southeast Asia is where they make those. But there are there are more power hammers in Europe than there are here in the United States anymore. Now, there used to be more power hammers in the United States than there currently are. A lot of the power hammers have just been, disassembled and, gotten rid of by corporations and things like that. Yes, but who wants Chinese? I mean, if they've got what you need at a reasonable price. The local blacksmith uses a water wheel to power his hammer. Yeah, there are some amazing water wheel power hammers that have been around for hundreds of years. They're really neat, but they take a lot of effort to keep them functional. A friend of mine that I met in Memphis, because every year the Memphis Metals Museum brings a European blacksmith to the United States to kind of teach us a little bit. And one of the guys that came had one of those water wheel power hammers, and the log that they use to run it to transfer the water, the water wheel to the power hammers themselves, they had been growing it for 100 years for this particular shop, and it is incredible how much effort it is to maintain them and how amazing they are to, like, because they have to be specifically straight and things. So it's just incredible the amount of effort and technical skill that you need to maintain one of those. Yang are hard to beat for the price range. They are. And they definitely are. But like I said, if you are here in the United States, Coal Iron Works, they're very reasonable, if you want a new one. He uses a belt and pulley system. Interesting. First hit in Google is Lasco. Hydraulic overpressure hammer. It delivers 10 to 200 kilojoule each punch. Is that much? That's actually pretty decent amount of force. I know a local working historic water mill that is only 600 years old, and during COVID started ramping up production to supply home baking. They went from 5 bags a month to 5 bags an hour. Oh, wow. That is incredible. I respect that. That is, that has my respect. Just to be able to use the old methods to do things. Let's do another heat while we're at it. There. We're getting a little bit of light. And we've gotten ourselves a little bit of girth here so we can lengthen it some more. I do want to eventually work on the back a little bit just to give us a little bit of length that I can grab a hold of it with my hand. The press seems to draw a lot of heat from the material. It does. It definitely does. The worrying thing is they stress the only 600-year-old part, as there is another water mill a few miles away that is 1,400 years old, but they have replaced a few parts. Yeah, so my press ends up pulling a lot of heat out of the material because it takes so long for each press cycle, right? So part of the reason that a faster press can manage a lot more work is that the dies are not making contact with the steel for as long of a period of time, right? So the longer that the dies make contact with that steel, the more heat is being pulled out. So yeah, I definitely am losing a lot of heat to the dies. I will lose less heat as the dies start heating up, as they start equalizing heat, but there's never really an opportunity for it to get really, really hot. These dies are actually made out of A2, which is an incredibly hard air quenching tool steel. We've played with it a little bit. We made our the hardy hole like cut, like the cutoff tool that we made that out of A2 as well. So it takes a lot of heat in order to move it, and so that's kind of why I use A2 for the dies. Lasco also offers a counter blow hammer, which delivers up to 500 kilojoules per blow at 35 blows per minute. Conduction versus convection versus radiation. Exactly. So I do the best I can with the materials that I have, but you know, I built this thing more than 10 years ago. So when I built this thing, you know, coal iron really wasn't a thing yet. It was a little more challenging back then to get a hold of blacksmithing equipment and plans to make your own equipment. Interesting to read through their brochure, although it is in German. I do not know half of the terms used. There is a lot of technical jargon involved with power hammers, especially when they start getting into the types of self-contained air compression that is used to oftentimes raise and lower the rams. Ober Glass Zinc is seemingly the upper die. Interesting. I would not have known myself, you know. So for our next heat, we're going to go back on the long side, and we are going to go under the straight dies so that we can kind of take the curve out of that. I want to make sure that we're getting enough, or that we're not getting a lot of curving as we're doing this, because correcting it later on is going to be a lot more work than correcting it early. If it's German made, then it's good. I built my tire hammer maybe 15 years ago. Awesome. Yeah, I know that there were classes to make like tire hammers and things like that, even back when I first started. But I was not nearly as plugged into blacksmithing as a community as I am now. So it was harder for me to get a hold of these things, or, you know, find these locations. Insidious Robots, welcome to the stream. I'm excited. We're picking up a used tire hammer from our makerspace soon. Clay Spencer model. That's exciting. The quickest and most efficient is conduction, just a space engineer. They have trouble dissipating heat as if there is not conduction. Practically little or no convection. Sandwich wishes that German-made products were always good quality. Clay Spencers are nice little 50-pound hammers. They are. I think for a while he was doing classes where you go down to his shop, and in groups of like 5 or 8, and each of you would make power hammers, and then you'd go home with one. But I was never able to do that. At least when it comes to older things. We've got a ad coming in about 3 minutes, so I'm going to do one more heat before that ad starts, and then once that ad starts, we will do, or, you know, we'll be putting the steel back in the fire. Alright, we still got a little bit of a curve that I need to correct. I think we're just going to correct it on the anvil. I believe he sold off his interest in hammers to Dave Custer. Welcome in, Yankee. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. There are still classes out there where you can make those 50-pound trip hammers, or I mean 50-pound like little giant tire hammer type things. But yeah, I'm not sure who exactly is doing it right now. I've seen a few advertised though. So I'm hoping that on Monday we'll be able to use the mailbox to continue working on this script. It should be small enough now that I can get flames all the way around it and heat it efficiently. So it should be pretty nice. We'll get a lot of work done on Monday. We're definitely, not going to finish today. But hopefully we will finish by Wednesday. From the context, I guess that bear, not to be confused with bar, which is, well, bear, seems to be the technical term for the upper and lower parts that hold the dies. Interesting. I know there's a lot of terms for the parts of a power hammer, but I don't have enough experience with them to like have those memorized. So we are in the middle of an ad currently, and while that's going, I'm going to move the close-up camera to the anvil because that's where we're going to be going next. And I'm going to try not to drop my water on the floor. That's the goal, right? Water on the floor. Or to prevent water on the floor, that is. Alright. Super warm. So we've got about 20 minutes left in the stream. And then we will be back at it on Monday. This is probably going to be a 3-part drift stream. I might finish or like do the finish on the drift on Friday, or like next week Friday. I'm not sure. We'll see what things look like then. Let's do another heat on the anvil. Yeah, Dave seems to be advertising them a ton. Fiery Furnace Forge is the company name for folks. Oh, okay. I've seen him advertise. Yeah, I've seen him advertise. I think he's been advertising on Blacksmith for Beginners tailgate sale recently. Alright, that's much straighter. Alright, well, I'm going to put this back in the heat, and we're going to continue using the press. Because it's bouncing around a lot. I think I might actually turn this over, too. So that we can work on that big chunk back there. It is a chunker. The bottom die holder here are called sow blocks. Yeah, I think I've heard that term before. I remember it. Maybe if I could get the lid back on my water, that would be great. I don't want to knock it over and have water spill everywhere. We've already had plenty of water on the floor over the last couple of days. I'd rather, not start that up again. The bear on the biggest version of the overpressure hammer weighs 13.5 metric tons. Oh, wow. Fiery Furnace Forge had a sales tent up at Quad State. I'm pretty sure he brought a hammer. Last year, he seemed like he had a few, or it seemed like he had a few last year. I think I saw a couple handmade tire hammers. I think one of them that I saw was green, and I think the other was like tan. But I didn't catch the names of the tailgaters. I didn't do a lot of shopping while I was at Quad State because I was talking to people. I spent most of my time where I wasn't relaxing and trying to like maintain my energy. I spent interviewing people and just like talking to people, asking them what they were up to and stuff like that. So I feel like I want to stay an extra day at Quad State next time I go. I think going and getting there on Thursday would make a little bit more, or it would allow me to get a little bit more time to get some more B-roll and to talk to more people, do some tailgating and things like that. So, yeah, I definitely felt like I didn't have enough time while I was at Quad State. That is a big tongue twister. I don't know that I would be like able to talk or say that word. or that string of letters. Pronounce it. All right, let's do another heat. Oh, you know what? How about I move the camera because we're going back to the press. I don't think I want to do it from this angle. Because if I do, then you guys will see my back and not the piece. There we go. Now let's try that again. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to anything but tongs in his tent. I bought a few more pairs this year. I put the YouTube link in Discord. Okay. I'll take a look. So I don't know if you guys can see on the end of this bar, like right in there, there's some striation. And I'm wondering if that is from the saw that cut it, or if it's somehow breaking or ripping. Doesn't make any sense for it to be ripping, so it's probably saw blade marks. I just hope the reverb Barbara in bar. He has good stuff. I have some tongs and rounding hammer from him. I love them all. Hey, Swiss. Welcome to the stream. Oh, and Insidious Robot, thank you so much for that follow. I greatly appreciate it. Welcome to the community. Welcome, welcome. We're a small community, but we're starting to grow, and there's a lot of good information around. Saw marks are usually visible as wavy lines after some forging still. Yeah. Grind it back and find out. Yeah, so the steel that I started with is just 4140. And I cut it with a bandsaw. So I'm really thinking it's just striations from the saw. If it starts like separating or something, I'll grind it back and make sure that it's, it's good to go. But I'm 95% sure it's just saw striations. My water is starting to go warm on me. And I'm starting to get pretty warm. So I think what's going to happen is I think we're going to do 2 more heats, and then I'll probably pack it in for the day, or at least for the stream. I will be back on Monday, and we will be continuing to work on this Axe Eye Drift. So I hope to see you guys then. And if you have any suggestions for who to raid, please do let me know. I love all of your suggestions. If you don't have any suggestions, then we will find a friend or make a friend. All right, let's do our first of 2 more heats. All right, that's 1. And we're gonna flip this around and we're gonna start working on it from the other end again. Start drawing it out, get some more length. Play in the mud. It may not seem like it, but that string of bars is still growing and still making sense. If I read her streaming plan correctly, Courtney Vizier said she'd come online in just 7 minutes. I think I'm gonna go with play in the mud. Not necessarily because it was suggested first, but because it's a little bit more related to our stream this time. If that's all right with everybody. I know, makers prefer makers. Yeah, we kind of do. So when we get done today, I'm going to go back in the house and I'm going to listen to the new Taylor Swift album another 6 times. Because that's what I've been doing all day, that I wasn't in here. It's a pretty good album overall. Very few complaints. It is a tiny bit contrived. Is it? Yeah, there's only like 1 song that is like almost a skip for me. But really, it's because it's about something a little less than PG. So I'm going to leave it at that. The song is called Wood, if you're interested. But yeah. Thank you guys all for joining me today. We're going to do one more heat here in just a second. And then we're going to raid off to play in the mud. So let's do that. All right, guys, and that is all she wrote for the day. Take this over to the anvil. If I read her streaming plan, oh, okay, yeah. All right, guys, thank you guys so much. As a warning, I haven't actually updated our outro just yet. I should have it done on or by Monday. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great weekend and see you Monday. Thank you. You too, Corwin. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to the Ren Fair this weekend. It's gonna be fun. Bye, guys.